I went in the Air Force in 1981. I worked in combat intelligence. I was active duty, and then I switched over to the National Guard. I was a traditional guardsman, the 1 week a month, 2 weeks during the summer. And then I went full time. I cross-trained out of combat intel. I went into crash rescue. And I retired in 2004. I went back to a traditional guardsman in 2000 when I joined the NYPD as a police officer. I was there for 9/11 doing recovery efforts. I was stationed in the Bronx, in the 5-2 precinct, the 5-0 precinct, and then I went to highway patrol, and that's how I ended up in a wheelchair. I mean, I always laugh. I said, I went to the desert, I didn't get hit by anything over there. I come back to being a cop, and I get hit by a car in the Bronx, so what's the chances of that, So I've been dealing with the injury since 2007 during a pursuit. In 2012, I was diagnosed with cancer, had the surgery. In 2016, I got diagnosed again with stage 4 cancer, which I'm dealing with now. But I keep busy. I raced hand cycles for the PVA team, Paralyzed Veterans Race Team. I got to race in Alaska, raced all over the country doing hand cycles. Got to race with Paralympians and some fantastic athletes. I did the Alaska Challenge, which was a race from Fairbanks, Alaska to Anchorage, Alaska. It was a 270-mile road race on hand cycles. And I just, shortly after I got diagnosed with cancer and I got my treatments done. So it was kind of like a great accomplishment. Like I worked hard to get it done, so it was pretty cool. My wife's an occupational therapist I met during disabled snow skiing. And we got married, and we've been married 7 years now, and it was just this past June. She does triathlons, she does Ironman competitions, so she's very supportive of what I do and everything. And I've been getting involved in a lot of outdoor activities, and I always believe, like, even from where I went to Helen Hayes in New York, my rehab center, they had a big sports program, from kayaking to hand cycling and stuff. And it definitely helps people who are paralyzed, get you back out, gives you that freedom again and stuff like that. The same with all these outdoor, whether you're hunting or fishing or you want to go golfing or whatever. It brings you back your normalcy to being paralyzed. And I'd like to pass that on, because I get involved with a bunch of organizations, like, it's all by word of mouth. You get some guy who might be, down and up, so you don't even know it, It's always a stigmatism talking in the VA, and guys are afraid to say something about what's going on, To be honest, with all the 9/11 stuff, I just came to terms with it probably about 2 months ago. One day I was just sitting at a table and it just hit me. I was talking to my wife, and now I go talk to somebody about it, because I thought it was just my job. I I was a tough guy, and and all the stuff you see and deal with as a police officer, it caught up with me about 2 months ago, almost 18 years later, you know what I mean? After 9/11 and doing all the stuff I did. So, there's no shame in going to talk to somebody, there really isn't. It took me 18 years to do it, because I thought I was just, it was just part of my job, and that's what I was supposed to do. But you see some crazy stuff, whether it's a police officer, a firefighter, or a military guy. Sometimes these things just sit in your head for a while. I mean, mine's set for 18 years, so it is what it is. But I'm glad I can talk to somebody now and get it all off my chest. And we have a lot of guys killing themselves every day, and it's messed up. As a matter of fact, one of the cops I used to work with 3 weeks ago shot himself. Nobody even knew why. And that kind of had me go talk to somebody, because I don't want to be him, you know what I mean? I don't know what his demons were, but we all have them, so, you can't be embarrassed to go out and to talk to somebody, Psychiatrists can talk to you, occupational therapists can talk to you, PTs can talk to you, but nobody knows what it's like to be in a chair except another person, And that's why I started doing a lot of mentoring in different hospitals, telling patients, and it's good for me too, because it lets me air out my problems during the day too, because it's not easy all the time, I'm just living my life and just trying to do the best I can, and try to tell some of the people I met, in different organizations, get people back out who don't think there's anything after being paralyzed, We get them out there in the woods and stuff like that, or whatever sport is, or back in a kayak for a day, and they're like, this is pretty normal and stuff. My wife actually had a patient at Helen Hayes, and he was #1 in New York City for high school wrestling, and he got shot by a gang member. He thought it was over. So a bunch of us went down to his room, in our wheelchairs and stuff, and start telling him what things going on. And the next day, he goes to my wife, he goes, "Oh, there is life after being paralyzed." He moved himself to Florida. He's on the Puerto Rican basketball team, so he does the Paralympics with that. His life just took off just by meeting a couple guys who, have a positive attitude, Not to say we don't get down like everybody else does. Everybody else has a bad day, but there is life after being paralyzed, you know. So that's pretty much that's my story.